So I grew up in Newton, Iowa, raised in what I considered to be your average middle-class family. Turns out behind closed doors, my mother was a drug addict and alcoholic. My father was an alcoholic as well. Everything seemed to go pretty good until I was about 14. Then I found out my mom had contracted HIV from intravenous drug use. Next thing I knew, I got a call. I was living with my father. It had only been maybe a year, and my mother had passed away. I continued to spiral out of control. I dropped out of high school in 9th grade. And so fast forward 20 years, all I pretty much did was drink and drug for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That's what I did. All I had left was my car. I was kind of living in my car, living from couch to couch, friend to friend's house, small town to small town, living in and out of the casinos. Then one night going home from the casino, I fell asleep at the wheel and I totaled my car. I hit the concrete embankment underneath of a bridge. So now I have nothing, no car, nothing. People are getting tired of me sleeping on their couch. I'm pushed out of that thing and I start to stay on a concrete slab that is behind middle school in Newton. So it kind of all came to a head and I was desperate and I was seeking change. I didn't know where to look, I didn't know where to turn, I didn't know what to do. I just knew I had to do something. My aunt and uncle picked me up, they dropped me off at the Bethel Mission. They came in with me. There was some staff up front that said, "No need, you can leave now, we've got him from here." And somebody said, "Welcome to the greatest place on earth." And I thought, this is completely insane.
And we tell men a lot, we don't really care what brought them here, but we care a lot about where they're going. And so we're going to take that man and we're going to love on him, and we know the answer is Jesus. He may not know that yet, and so we're going to get him in over at Bethel, and we're going to start with 4 weeks of an initial phase. And then we're going to get him out to the door of faith, and then he's got 5 components of a program that's going to last him 1 whole year. And those components are recovery and spiritual and life skills and education and fitness. And every man's going to take every one of those things. It's like a year of college.
It wasn't but 2 weeks into program that I'm sitting in the chapel and I hear a message. I had no idea who Jesus was. And I heard Psalm 55:22, which is, "Cast your burdens upon the Lord, and he shall sustain you. He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved." And all of a sudden at that moment I thought, all this junk I've been carrying around with me, all this abandonment, this anger issues, resentment, top to bottom, you think of sins, I lived them. And I didn't have to carry that with me no more. I floated up to my bunk that night and probably had the greatest night's sleep I've ever had in my entire life to this day.
One of the things about Nick that was really fascinating was you could just tell right out of the gate he was really intelligent. But he didn't even have his high school degree. And so an opportunity that he has at Hope Ministries is to get his, what was the GED is now called his high set. And so Nick took that. And Nick was like a sponge. He soaked up so many things, and it was just wonderful to watch him grow. And then we really hoped that after he graduated, he would continue all those things.
So I'd gotten to the last and final phase of the program and it was time to get a job. So I went out to get a job and I happened to be hired by a lovely young lady who turns out is my wife now.
The first day I met him, there was just something about him. I don't know what it was, but it was just, I knew at that moment he was supposed to be in my life somehow. You know, from the very beginning it was like I was awestruck because I couldn't imagine the life that he lived. It is so very different than today's life with him.
So when Nick did his internship, it was apparent just from the very beginning that he could be a great fit for our team. He'd slept in the beds, he'd worked the program, he knew that kind of lifestyle, and so he could tell the guys, I've been in your shoes. I know what it's like to go through what you're going through. Plus you couldn't pull the wool over his eyes either. He'd been there, he'd done that. And so it was fun to watch him fit in, and he has just hit the ground running. He's been way ahead of most people to come start a brand new job. He knows us, he gets us, and he loves these men, and he cares a lot about them, and he wants to give back for the blessing he's received.
Since program has got over for me, God has blessed me in so many ways. I'm married now to a wonderful woman. I have a job now at Hope Ministries. I have a college degree. I went from homeless to homeowner, not renter, homeowner, in 5 years.
I'm amazed, absolutely amazed with him. I think he can really understand the guys that he works with and the struggles that they go through, and every day I'm so proud of him.
Before I came to Hope Ministries, my life was nothing but a ghost. And since Hope Ministries, my life has been solidified in Christ.